So, I've read the judgments against Israel, and YAHUAH corrects those whom he loves, and don't get tired of his correction. Don't get frustrated, and don't be discouraged when YAHUAH corrects us. He corrects the ones that he loves. So now I'll read 1 through 4. The words of Amos, who was among the herdsmen of Tekoa, which he saw concerning Yasharel in the days of Uzziah, king of Yahudah, in the days of Yeravam, the son of Joash, king of Yasharel, 2 years before the earthquake. And he said, YAHUAH will roar from Sion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the habitation of the shepherds shall mourn, and the top of Carmel shall wither. Thus says YAHUAH, for 3 transgressions of Damascus, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they have threshed Gilead with threshing instruments of iron. But I will send a fire into the house of Kaziel, which shall devour the palaces of Ben-Hadad. I will break also the bar of Damascus, and cut off the inhabitant from the plain of Avin, and him that holds the scepter of the house of Eden. And the people of Aram shall go into captivity to Kir, says YAHUAH. Thus says YAHUAH, for 3 transgressions of Gaza, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they carried away captive the whole captivity to deliver them up to Edom. But I will send a fire on the wall of Gaza, which shall devour the palaces thereof. And I will cut off the inhabitant from Ashdod, and him that holds the scepter from Ashkelon. And I will turn my hand against Ekron, and the remnant of the Pelishtim shall perish, says Adonai YAHUAH. Thus says YAHUAH, for 3 transgressions of Sor, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom, and remembered not the brotherly covenant. But I will send a fire on the wall of Sor, which shall devour the palaces thereof. Thus says YAHUAH, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother Jacob with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. That means up until today, and forevermore, which shall devour. But I will send a fire upon Taman, which shall devour the palaces of Batsra. Thus says YAHUAH, for 3 transgressions of the children of Ammon, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they have ripped up the women with child of Gilead, that they might enlarge their border. But I will kindle a fire in the wall of Rabbah, and it shall devour the palaces thereof with shouting in the day of battle, with the tempest in the day of whirlwind. And their king shall go into captivity, he and his princes together, says YAHUAH. Thus says YAHUAH, for 3 transgressions of Moab, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he burned the bones of the king of Edom into lime. But I will send a fire upon Moab, and it shall devour the palaces of Kiriath. And Moab shall die with tumult and with shouting, and the sound of the shofar. You know, Moab, they're the descendants of Lot and his daughters. And Moab shall die with tumult and with shouting and with the sound of the shofar. And I will cut off the judge from the midst thereof, and will slay all the princes thereof with him, says YAHUAH. Thus says YAHUAH, for 3 transgressions of Yahudah, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they have despised the Torah of YAHUAH, and have not guarded his commandments, and their lies caused them to err, after the which their fathers have walked. This is why we have to be careful to guard our hearts. Out of our hearts flow the issues of life. If you have a prideful heart, if you have a heart after your own will, if you have a heart after your own anger and after your hatred, after the pain that we've been through in this earth, in this land where we were exiled, how can we be angry when it was YAHUAH that did it? He sent us here. He didn't tell them to do all the things that they did to us. And he knows the pain. But we have to be careful to give it to him. If we're truly his children, like the sons of Jacob did, our forefathers, there wasn't a battle that they went into that they didn't ask him to go with them, before them. And he was their strength. And he caused them to win the battle. He won the battle for them. We can't do anything in our own strength or on our own time. It's what he says and when he says. But I will send a fire upon Yahudah, and it shall devour the palaces of Jerusalem. Thus says YAHUAH, for 3 transgressions of Yasharel, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they sold the righteous for silver and the poor for a pair of shoes. They pant after the dust of the earth on the head of the poor, and turn aside the way of the meek. And a man and his father will go into the same maid to profane my holy name. And they lay themselves down upon clothes laid to pledge by every altar, and they drink the wine of the condemned in the house of their small Elohim. Yet destroyed I the Amori before them, the heathen nations. I destroyed them for Yahudah, whose height was like the height of the cedars, and he was as strong as the oaks. Yet I destroyed his fruit from above and his roots from beneath. Also I brought you up from the land of Mizraim, and led you 40 years through the wilderness to possess the land of the Amori. And I raised up of your sons for prophets, and of your young men for Nazarene. Is it not even thus, O ye children of Yasharel, says YAHUAH? But ye gave the Nazarene wine to drink, and commanded the prophets, saying, Prophesy not. Behold, I am pressed under you, as a cart is pressed that is full of sheaves. Therefore the flight shall perish from the swift, and the strong shall not strengthen his force, neither shall the mighty deliver himself, neither shall he stand that handles the bow, and he that is swift of foot shall not deliver himself, neither shall he that rides the horse deliver himself. And he that is courageous among the mighty shall flee away naked in that day, says YAHUAH. Hear this word that YAHUAH has spoken against you, O children of Yasharel, against the whole family, which I brought up out from the land of Mizraim, saying, You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities, because I love you and because you are my child. Can two walk together except they be in agreement? Will a lion roar in the forest when he has no prey? Will a lion cry out of his den if he has taken nothing? Can a bird fall in a snare upon the earth where no gin is for him? Can one take up a snare from the earth and have taken nothing at all? Shall a shofar be blown in the city and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in the city and YAHUAH has not done it? Surely Adonai YAHUAH will do nothing except he reveals it, his secret, to his servants the prophets. The lion has roared, and who will not fear? Adonai YAHUAH has spoken, but who can prophesy? Publish in the places at Ashdod and in the palaces in the land of Mizraim, and say, Assemble yourselves upon the mountains of Shamaron, and behold the great tumults in the midst thereof, and the oppressed and the oppressed in the midst thereof. Behold the great tumults in the midst thereof, and the oppressed in the midst thereof. For they know not to do right, says YAHUAH, who store up violence and robbery in their palaces. Therefore thus says Adonai YAHUAH, an adversary there shall be even round about the land, and he shall bring down your strength from you. And your palaces shall be spoiled. Thus says YAHUAH, as the shepherd takes out of the mouth of the lion 2 legs or a piece of an ear, so shall the children of Yasharel be taken out that dwell in Shamaron, in the corner of a bed, and in Damascus in a couch. Thus says YAHUAH, I'm going to read 12 again. As the shepherd takes out the mouth of the lion 2 legs, or a piece of an ear, so shall the children of Yasharel be taken out that dwell in Shamaron, in the corner of a bed, and in Damascus in a couch. Hear ye, and testify in the house of Yaakov, says Adonai YAHUAH, the Elohai Sevaat, the champion of the armies. YAHUAH, Adonai, the prince, YAHUAH, the king YAHUAH, the champion of the armies, the prince who breathes life. Behold the nailed hands, the champion of heaven's armies. Hear ye and testify in the house of Yaakov, says Adonai YAHUAH, the Elohai Sevaat, that in that day that I shall visit the transgressions of Yasharel upon him, I will also visit the altars of the house of Elohim, of my house, Bethel, and the horns of the altar shall be cut off and fall to the ground, and I will smite the winter house with the summer house, and the houses of ivory shall perish, and the great houses shall have an end, says YAHUAH. As the shepherd takes out of the mouth of the lion 2 legs or a piece of an ear, so shall the children of Yasharel be taken out that dwell in Shamaran in the corner of a house, and in Damascus in a couch. That means not all of us are going to go. Not the whole body, just pieces of it, just a remnant of it. Just because you have the DNA of David doesn't mean that you're going to have David's reward. Because David's brothers had his DNA. His daddy had his DNA. And when Samuel chose David, and when they talked about how prideful David was, and I think Amos, I think YAHUAH talked about his brothers in here. No, that was in Chronicles. And the lineage. That's the only place you hear about him. And YAHUAH told David, there won't fail to be a king from your lineage. But I mean, I haven't come upon the part yet where all his sons that he had, like he had a lot of sons and a few daughters. But Solomon, the other rejected one, born from adultery, is who was chosen. We have no way of knowing the will of YAHUAH. We have no way of knowing his mind. That's why we can't attempt, man nor woman, to bend the will of YAHUAH, because he knows. And even David was astonished himself and said, I was the youngest of my brothers. All my brothers were great and tall. I was attending, they were all men of war. I was in the shepherd's field, attending to the sheep. But even then, YAHUAH was training me. I had no idea what my purpose was. But then YAHUAH was training me. He taught me how to kill a bear and a lion with my bare hands. He delivered me. He delivered me. I didn't do any of that on my own. And when it came time for him to take Goliath out, he didn't say, oh, I killed a bear and a lion with my own 2 hands. No, he said the same Elohim, the same YAHUAH that delivered me from the lion and the bear shall surely deliver me from this uncircumcised Philistine. You come at me with blasphemy. You come at me with a huge stature and a sword. But I come at you in the name of YAHUAH, the Elohai Sabaoth. Until you can say that in your heart, you will have no portion. Until your heart can say that. And you can start by saying it with your mouth. You're the first person that hears the words that come out of your mouth. So maybe if you say it with your mouth enough, it'll get into your heart and it'll get into your spirit, because until it does, you're not going to have a portion in the house of YAHUAH, because it's his will, not ours. So I'm almost finished. 14. That in the day that I shall visit the transgression of Yasharel upon him, I will also visit the altars of my house, and the horns of the altar shall be cut off. What does that sound like to you? These churches that claim to be of him, they're definitely his houses built on the backs of the poor. But right here he says he shall visit the altars of his house. Because what's good right in these days of Amos, what's good then is still good now. Because we all know there's nothing under the sun that hasn't already been done. That we all know that history continues to repeat itself. And just as the house of Judah was worshiping idols in the land before we were exiled, it still continues to this day. It still continues to this day. But this time, when he cleanses his house shall be clean. From the time he does it until 1,000 years. And you know, for all you people who tell the prophets, the true prophets of YAHUAH, not to prophesy, because there are prophets in this land right now. They're not prophesying about how the Lord is going to provide. They're not prophesying about how the Lord is going to make you rich, lift you up above all your haters. You know, and if they do, that's just a small fraction of what YAHUAH tells them to say. And it's usually not about everybody. It's just about one or two people, maybe. Because it's the same as before. If everybody's saying it, it's probably a lie. And it's a trend. It's a trend of that. It's a trend of that saying God's prophets won't curse the land. Well, what did Amos say? We'll go back to that. When the king told him to get up out of the house of YAHUAH Elohim, prophesying YAHUAH Elohim's word. He said, your wife, because you don't want to hear the word of YAHUAH that he told me to tell you. Your wife will be a harlot in the street, and your children will be vagabonds. What is that? What did Elijah do when the people wanted to go with the prophets of Baal? The same prophets that are prophesying lies today. If you don't think they're prophets of Baal, just because it's 2024, the same lying prophets of today, the people glorified and worshipped. But when a true prophet came, they didn't want to hear his voice until he called down fire out of the sky. Until he caused it not to rain on the land for 3 years. Then they listen. What is that? That's curses. But they're not Elijah's curses. And the curse that Amos spoke against the king of Israel at that time wasn't Amos's curse. It was their own curses because they rejected the word of YAHUAH. And that's just 2 examples out of the word of YAHUAH. So who should I believe? A man, a woman, or YAHUAH? Is that Paul, y'all's favorite guy, that said, let every man be a liar? And YAHUAH the truth? I don't know if it was Paul. But I know it's in here somewhere. Let YAHUAH be the truth and every man a liar. Anytime you charge money for a prophecy, you're a false prophet. Working in divination. Buying your power. Anytime you charge money for deliverance, you're a false prophet. Working in divination and witchcraft. And if you multiplying people's money, I don't know how you can do that. That's a neat trick. You multiplying paper by taking paper from poor people. I've never seen it happen here in the States. People give and give and give and give to the same pastor for 50 years. And hear the same thing every Sunday. And still die without leaving their children anything. They done gave it all to the pastor to support his lifestyle. And I'm not saying all pastors. You brag about being rich. You've turned the house of the Lord into a marketplace, into a house of, into a den of thieves. And it's not me that's going to turn the tables over. It's not me that's going to clean house. It's not me that's going to come through with the street sweeper, the real one. And it's not God's prophets that are going to do that. It's him. His prophets are just warning you. Take it or leave it. His prophets have to tell you what he tells them to tell you. Whether you like it or not, whether it feels good to you or not. And it's most likely not going to feel good. I've never heard a true prophecy that did feel good to me. But it was good. It didn't feel good, but it was good. It cleansed me. It grew me. It washed me. It healed my soul. It brought me back to YAHUAH, my creator, my maker. It taught me to trust in him. It taught me to lean upon him. So again, back to turning over the tables. I will visit the transgressions of Yasharel upon him, and I will visit the altars of Bethel, and the horns of the altar shall be cut off and fall to the ground, and I will smite the winter house with the summer house, and the houses of ivory shall perish, and the great houses shall have an end, says YAHUAH. Hear this word. Ye kine of Bashan, that are in the mountains of Shamaron, which oppress the poor, which crush the needy, which say to their Adonim, to their false gods. See, that's a small a, and it's not in bold. That's a small a. Bring and let us drink. Bring and let us drink. These fake apostles and fake prophets that have so many assistants, have so many celebrity friends, Which one is the Adonai? Adonai YAHUAH has sworn 7 oaths by his holiness that, lo, the day shall come upon you that he will take you away with hooks, and your posterity in fishing boats, and ye shall go out at the breaches. Every cow that which is before her, and ye shall cast them into the palace, says YAHUAH. Come to Bethel and transgress at Gilgal, and multiply transgression, and bring your sacrifices every morning and your tithes after 3 years, and offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving with leaven. You know what leaven is, right? Filth, dirt, sin, yeast, fungus, and proclaim and publish the free offerings, for this likes you, O ye children of Yasharel, says Adonai YAHUAH. And that I have also given you cleanness of teeth in all your cities, and want of bread in all your places. Yet have ye not returned unto me, says YAHUAH. And also I have withheld the rain from you, when there were yet 3 months to harvest. And I caused it to rain upon one city, and caused it not to rain upon another city. One piece was rained upon, and the piece whereupon it rained not withered. So 2 or 3 cities wandered unto one city to drink water, but they were not satisfied. Yet have you not returned to me, says YAHUAH. You see all the signs, but you still twerking. You still think it's cool to go throw money before false prophets' feet instead of feeding the poor, clothing the poor, visiting the sick, visiting prisoners, helping the widows, helping the orphans. You still think it's cool to hoard everything up for yourself and for your children. They won't enjoy it. They're not going to enjoy it. It never ends that way. You think it's cool to oppress others so that you can have even a little bit. You still don't have nothing. But you keep taking from others. You think you got something. But when you die and they put you in the ground, it's going to belong to somebody else. I have smitten you with blasting and mildew when your gardens and your vineyards and your fig trees and your olive trees increased. The palmer worm devoured them. Yet have ye not returned unto me, says YAHUAH. I have sent among you the pestilence after the manner of Mizraim. Your young men have I slain with the sword, and have taken away your horses. And I have made the stink of your camps come up unto your nostrils, yet have you not returned unto me, says YAHUAH. I have overthrown some of you, as Elohim overthrew Sedom and Amorah. And ye were as a firebrand picked out of the burning. Yet have ye not returned unto me, says Yahuwah. Therefore thus will I do unto you, O Yasharel, and because I will do this unto you, prepare to meet your Elohim, O Yasharel. For lo, he that forms the mountains, and creates the wind, and declares unto man what is his thought, that makes the morning darkness, and treads upon the high places of the earth. Yahuwah Elohai Sevaat is his name. Shalom.